Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book about financial. It was written by Robert Kiyosaki in 1997. This book has sold over 32 million copies in more than 51 the languages and across more than 109 countries. This book explained the story of young Robert learning from his two fathers. One was his real father, which he called Poor Dad. And the other one was his best friend's father, which he called Rich Dad. His real father was a highly educated person, had a PhD, and working for the government. His poor dad, however, died leaving bills. His rich dad, on the other hand, was a dropout in 8th grade but later became the richest man in Hawaii. Although Robert loves his poor dad, he chose to learn from his rich dad about money. His two dads have contrast point of view, particularly where money is concerned. For example, his poor dad says money is the root to all evil, while his rich dad always says the lack of money is the root to all evil. It is a different way of thinking about the same exact thing. When there is something that they want to buy, but it is too expensive, the poor dad will say, "I can't afford it." But the rich dad will say, "How can I afford it?" By saying "I can't afford it," it will let you off the hook and make you stop thinking. But by saying "How can I afford it," makes you start thinking. By thinking, you will find a way to get the thing you want. The poor dad says, "The reason I don't have money is because I have you kids." While the rich dad says, "The reason I must have money is because I have you kids." Robert Kiyosaki says that most people controlled by two factors, fear and greed or desire. Fear and desire can lead you into life's biggest trap. People fear of not having money, so they work to earn them. And when they have money, greed or desire takes place and made them wanting to spend more and more. When money is not enough, they have to work harder or longer for it. This cycle goes on, and it is like a rat race. Robert Kiyosaki teaches us not to work for money, but instead let money work for us. This can be done by acquiring assets. In order to do this, you need to first differentiate between liability and asset. Is your car an asset? Is your house an asset? Is your smartphone an asset? Or is it a liability? Poor dad and a lot of people like to say, "My house is my greatest asset." Rich dad, on the other hand, says, "My house is a liability." According to Kiyosaki, asset is something that brings in money, while liability is something that brings out money from your pocket. So is your house that you live in brings you money? Or you have to pay to maintain it? Repairs, taxes, paint job, etc. So in this case, your smartphone, house, car are all liabilities. It is not how much money you make, but how much money you keep. Rich people acquire assets, while the poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. The lack of financial knowledge is why the poor gets poorer and the rich gets richer. You can acquire asset by first identifying it, and then save money to buy the asset. Firstly, identify the assets. Assets are anything that put in money to your pocket. It can be real estates, businesses, websites, or anything else that generate money for you. So if you have house that you rent out to other people, then the house became your asset. But if you live in the house, it will be a liability. If you have a small business, a shop for example, it can become your asset. A website that brings you money through ads could also be your asset. But if you own a house and you live in it, it will become your liability. Why? Do you get any money from the house? No. Will the price of the house go up? Maybe yes, maybe no. But do you have to spend to maintain the house? Yes. Same goes by owning a car. Car is worst because the price will drop the next day you buy it. Because it will be considered a second-hand car. After you identify assets, pick the one that you want to buy. Kiyosaki advises that we buy asset that we have passion on. Save money, and buy that asset. You could also focus on other type of passive income such as bonds, stocks, or build or buy businesses. I love this definition by Kiyosaki. How do you define rich? According to Kiyosaki, rich is defined not by how much money someone has, but how long can someone survive by maintaining the lifetime with the current spending without working. Let's look at an example. John is working with a salary of $5,000 a month. And he has a saving of $40,000. He spends about $4,000 a month. If he stopped working right now, he could survive for another 10 months with the same lifestyle. Another person, Jane, do not have job, and she has no savings. But she acquires some assets and businesses that pays her around $3,000 a month. She spends around $2,500 a month. If she stopped working now, which she isn't, technically she could live forever because her income is larger than her spending. So, who is richer? So if you want to be financially free, start targeting on passive income and not active income or jobs. The other important thing Kiyosaki taught us in this book is about the power of corporations. The rich used corporations to take advantage of loopholes in tax system. In a simpler word, people with salary are taxed first, before they can spend. On the other hand, corporations spend first, and only taxed on the remaining. Normal working people can be taxed up to 37% in US and more than 50% in some other countries. Just imagine. If you earn $100,000 a month, government take $50,000 of it before you can spend. Every month. The more your salary is, the more percentage of your salary will be taxed. But do you know how much Warren Buffett, who has a net worth of $89.5 billion, is taxed? He said that he pays a lower percentage of tax than his secretary. Can you believe that? All thanks to his corporation. That is a little bit review of the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It is a very good book, and I would suggest it to everyone. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this.